Performance. Let me bring in two of the Conservative media's leading ladies, the Daily Telegraph's assistant comment editor Olivia Utley and the columnist for the Daily Telegraph and parliamentary sketch writer Madeline Grant. So, Madeline, what did you make of it?
Well, I thought it was a really great debate today. I was really impressed by the way that Alistair Stewart decided to chair everything. He very sensibly, I think, took out a lot of the kind of the spin and the middleman, and he just went straight to the questioners. And I think that worked really well because it made things run a lot more smoothly. But there was time for more questions. But also, perhaps, I think the kind of questions that the audience asked were they better reflected the concerns of the Conservatives who are going to be voting in this particular leadership race, and also the views of people who the Tories really need to win over if they're going to survive at the next election. In terms of how Liz Truss did, I think she's been generally gaining in confidence as this race has gone on. She's still a somewhat awkward communicator, but I have noticed a big difference. She seems a lot more polished and self-assured. I wonder if perhaps Team Truss has done a kind of Eliza Doolittle or sort of Margaret Thatcher number on her and had her do some elocution lessons, because I thought her voice has actually got a bit deeper than it used to be. And I think that she's looking quite polished, really.
Indeed. And then Olivia Utley, by contrast, there was this interview on the BBC tonight with Nick Robertson, obviously viewed potentially by millions of folk, but it was so dull. Nothing happened. I mean, Sunak needs a game-changing moment, doesn't he?
It just feels like he's coming out and doing his thing every time. It's very polished. You know exactly what you're going to get, but he doesn't really say anything new. And he's just, I'm the sort of person who's going to, and he does all these little catchphrases which sound like he's learnt them by heart. And it doesn't really feel like he's engaging at all. Whereas I agree with what Maddie said. I thought that Liz sounded polished for the first time. I thought actually it was the first time that I personally sort of warmed to her. There were quite a few occasions where she laughed with one of the questioners, or made some little allusion to their question going a bit too far, or something like that. But it really felt like she is a Conservative, a real grassroots Conservative who enjoys engaging with people, which I think is very refreshing to see, actually. I mean, compare that to Theresa May, for example. You would never see that sort of banter that we were getting with Liz Truss. Yeah. And I thought that was really nice.
She's good with the people. I agree. Look, I want to get to some specific issues that were discussed. So let me kick off, Madeline, with this moment where Truss suggested that she'll disregard the Green lobby to prevent any future energy crises like the one we're currently facing and help us achieve energy independence. Watch.
Yeah. We can change things with the oil and gas industry. So, for example, I support fracking in areas where there is local support for it. I support extracting more gas from the North Sea. I support moving ahead faster with nuclear power. So we are energy independent.
Madeline, what do you make of that?
Well, obviously this is the issue of our time and the one that's most important that they get right. I do sometimes worry a bit when politicians say that we'll get local buy-in is very important when it comes to things like housing and also things like fracking, that actually it is often very difficult to get local buy-in for issues, and often you get local councils that will just reject things out of hand. So I guess I would like to see a bit more reassurance that, that they will really be exploring every possible avenue to make something like fracking palatable to a local area. For example, say, we will help you share in the proceeds of what we make out of fracking, like try to bring people with you, try really hard, because I think that's the single most important issue, and the one that I personally would be looking at most closely to see, how strong they are on it.
No, very true. And Olivia Truss also laid out how she would finally deliver Brexit freedoms to help level up areas like Lee, where the People's Forum was held. Have a look at this.
I would do is keep taxes low, get the investment in, get all of those post-Brexit reforms done, get the EU law off our statute book so we can help small businesses generate wealth and opportunity. And I'm determined to deliver.
So, Olivia, I guess the big question is, can Truss, someone who voted Remain, actually be the person to finally deliver real Brexit benefits?
Well, it feels like she's thought about it very deeply. And I'm thinking more and more that perhaps what we need is the sort of zeal of the convert. And, you know, you had Rishi saying the other day that what he was going to do was within his first 100 days in office, he would review or repeal all 2,400 EU laws that are still on the British statute book. Well, great, but that's not really possible. You can't do it properly if you're going to do that. All you're going to do is review them, which means tweaking them a little bit, renaming them a little bit. You're not going to have serious reform. Whereas Truss there was actually talking about specifics of what she wants to do, which I think is a very good sign. And actually, I thought that Brexit was one of the issues that she was strongest on. I think I agree with Maddie that energy, it wasn't quite clear. I mean, she said she made the right noises. She wants to support the right things. She's not just going to give people handouts. That's a good sign. But I didn't quite understand how she's actually going to address this massive problem that we're facing this winter. And I thought she was a little bit weak on how she's going to deliver, as she loves to say.